It's time for another carrier product update. Tune in as we talk directly to the carriers about their new plans, any new network options they have, or which plan designs offer the most savings, and learn about the tools and resources they offer to help you generate more business. Visit our website to learn about all of the carriers we quote in our Carrier Product Update series.
Hello and welcome back to our Carrier Product Update series. This is our Q4 Kickoff Summit edition. My name is Jason Powers, and joining me in the studio is Dawn Upaw with Colonial Life. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Legacy Studio.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
Never done anything like this, so.
Well, it's great to have you here. Colonial Life is a part of our marketing efforts, a part of our product offerings. We are a preferred broker partner of Colonial Life. We're super excited about that. We've had some brokers out in the market that have had success with Colonial. So we know about Colonial, but there are agents watching this video that may not have had any experience with Colonial Life. So how would you sum up Colonial Life and its position in the market in group health and group insurance?
I'm going to go with it's the best ancillary carrier out there, so you should just use us. Is that it? Is that
There
all
you
we
go,
need?
right?
We've been in the ancillary market since early 1950s. First payroll deduction company on the ancillary side. So we've been doing the payroll deduction side for a really long time. The product portfolio is amazing. We do different lines of coverage. There's different levels. There's anything that would fit with the health insurance that you're currently providing to make the best benefits package for a group. And that's really the key is, how to tie all that together so that the employees have money in their pocket to pay their max out of pockets and things like that. So that's what we do.
Yeah, it's a lot of income protection, I think, built into
Yes.
The Colonial Life portfolio. So
Yes, that's exactly what it's about.
that's great. And I know you've got a presentation, so I'll let you jump right into it.
Okay, well, like the slide says, we've been protecting families and futures for over 80 years. So I kind of touched on that a little bit. We are the number 2 ancillary carrier out there in the small market, and about the 5th in large market. So we do both. We have products that are payroll deduction, but the certificate is individually owned. Never kitchen table sales. It's always sold in a group, typically with health insurance, but sometimes without. And then we have the large group side, where we have true group products, so where the certificate is owned by the employer, and we can go to underwriting and really make our prices competitive with any carrier that's out there. Those products require 10 enrolled in each line, where the individual but payroll deducted side has a minimum of 1 person enrolled in each line. So it makes it something you can really, really use in any size group.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Pretty simple approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do the voluntary benefits, so obviously product side. And then our enrollment options are really anything you need. So we have an employee navigator license, and we can put everything that you're doing on that platform, like we do for quite a few of your groups. Or we can use it just for, any way you want to use it. And it's a full HRIS system. Allows for anything from just tracking everyday employees and the products that they have to ACA compliance or PTO time. It does all the different things. And then when it comes to actually enrolling the employees, of course, we can do that in person. We can do it on the phone. They can self-enroll through Employee Navigator. So the options are pretty, anything that's out there goes from an enrollment perspective.
Yeah, and I think it's important for agents to know that may not already have access to a benefit admin system like Employee Navigator. As long as we install a Colonial product, they can access your Employee Navigator license. We can get them the group set up and offered through there. Your team does the build out.
Yeah.
So we just deliver the benefit information based on what was sold on the core products, so the core medical products, and then your team builds out the Employee Navigator profile, and then you go in and help do the actual enrollment.
Yes.
And then on the back side of things, when there are Colonial products in there, I know something that's really important, at least very important to our team, important to the brokers that we work with. Your team also helps on the claims support side.
It does. It does. I mean, we're there to support anything you do, Colonial. And then just to kind of reiterate, with the Employee Navigator, we build the health, dental, vision. If you put in a different disability product, we build all of that onto the system, the platform for you. So basically, we need, the product, the rates, and the contribution from the employer, and then it's all in the system and ready to go for your employers. But not only that, we have a support person for your employers to help learn how to use Employee Navigator, which is huge. So our IT person is going to set up an appointment and just teach them how to add an employee, how to remove an employee, and how to pull a report every month so that they know that their deductions are right for all the products. And a lot of the carriers integrate now, and so that data is going straight to those carriers from that perspective. And we do that for any size group.
Yeah, and we've seen the EDI integration between Employee Navigator and a lot of carrier systems improve, not just with Navigator, but overall as in the industry. We've seen that the process improve, and we've heard from quite a few carriers here recently where they're starting to even accept that integration for smaller size groups, which is important. We knew Navigator wasn't necessarily the holdup; it was the carriers and whether or not they would allow those things. So I think as we enter 2024 and beyond, more and more brokers are gonna need that kind of solution for their small group clients.
Absolutely, and it's such a time saver. I mean, if you don't have to interact with the carrier every time, you have a new hire at a group, if that's just done magic on the back end, then it just saves the broker time and effort, in keeping everything smooth and done and moving on and open new groups. So yeah.
So okay. So, but you're not an Employee Navigator. You're not here to sell Employee Navigator. We're talking about Colonial. I know it kind of got stuck there. Let's talk about the product, right? Let's talk about what are employer voluntary benefits. We talk about those a lot, but it's more than just voluntary, dental, vision, voluntary life. This is a lot more than that.
It is. So the product portfolio is basically accident coverage, critical illness. There is a cancer product, or critical illness can include cancer. There's two options on the cancer side. Of course, disability. There's a gap plan. We do term and whole life. I think that's about the gamut.
That's a lot of them, yeah.
Well, there you go. Oh, yeah, and dental. So dental is newer for us, and it's a true PPO dental. Has really great network in the Kansas, Missouri area. And one of the super cool things about our dental is that it is individually owned, even though it's payroll deducted, which means it's rate stable. So we're unable to, increase those rates year over year. So you can tell your client that, the medical may go up, but your dental's locked in, and we're not going to have to come back to you with an increase on the dental. So that one's really cool. But the previous slide said, why voluntary, right? And so with a lot, or what are voluntary benefits? With a lot of brokers, the medical insurance is always the most important, which of course is the case.
Sure.
But in today's world, we have such huge deductibles and especially max out-of-pockets that a lot of times people just don't know how much they really need voluntary benefits, right? Yeah. And so they're there to help the employees pay those deductibles, pay those max out-of-pockets. And then in the case of critical illnesses, they're able to help with travel and other things. It's been my experience, unfortunately, personally, and with my clients, that I know several teenagers right now who are going through cancer treatment. And when that happens, a friend of ours, had a situation where they wanted to be treated in Indiana. Well, who's going to pay for that, right? And who's going to pay for those hotels and those travel? And those benefits all include a benefit to help families take care of themselves when they're going through major problems.
Yeah.
And it's invaluable to them at that particular time. Of course, the medical insurance is always the most important because they got to get their care. But then if they're able to afford to go have their care their way, kind of the way I say it, then they're really happy about that. And I don't think voluntary benefits are so expensive, you know? I mean, when it comes right down to it, you can do a lot of different things with what we call, we say 1 hour of pay a week should cover the voluntary benefits that you need. So, you know, if you're a $20 an hour person, never more than $80 a month in voluntary benefits. So that's kind of how we look at or gauge what's appropriate for an employee to have.
Yeah, and we talked pre-show a little bit about sort of the gateway voluntary benefit being accident. You know, it's certainly at a lower price point. It's attainable. I think it's something that you can certainly, as an advisor, you can certainly paint a picture of the need for that kind of benefit at the price point that you have. So, but that leads into some of those other conversations about critical illness. You know, rounding out with voluntary life and some of those other products. And
the other thing that I think that a lot of times is overlooked is it doesn't hurt in today's world to ask the employer to cover some of those benefits. If they're concerned about their employees and their deductibles and their max out of pockets, pay for an accident policy. Because, you know, a lot of those instances when the employees are going to be using it is going to be an accident. And therefore, the employee has money coming in to help cover some of those deductibles and max out of pocket. So we can do a group accident policy for about $10 a month. And so, you know, that's very affordable and typically affordable even for the employer.
I could think of a case here earlier this summer where, you know, the group was concerned. They had a lot of employees that tend to have accidents outside the workplace, and so it was a situation where the broker, you know, came to us and had an idea, and it really fit the need in that situation, and gives us a platform to talk about some of the other products that Colonial offers. We talked a little bit about Employee Navigator, and you kind of touched on enrollment, but really, if we can kind of expand on what your team can do to help brokers that are entering into the busy season. They can't be everywhere all at once. So your team, when we're offering a Colonial product, your team can really help build on that broker's team, be part of that broker's team out in the market.
Absolutely. So our enrollment team, like we talked about, can do sit down one-on-one with employees, or we can do phone enrollment. But one of the nice things is we are very well versed in health insurance. And a lot of people don't understand their health insurance. And as brokers, you might not be interacting with the employees. You know, that HR person may be doing that, and then the employees just don't have a good idea. So when we sit down with the employees, we're talking about what is a deductible, you know, and how is that different than your max out of pocket, and answering questions for each employee individually, privately. I was in a situation yesterday where the broker did a group meeting, and, you know, she went over everything. It was all up on a nice board, you know, and then I stood up and said, okay, we're going to meet with you one-on-one. So if any of you have private questions, and, like, you know, the whole crowd's going, yeah. Because what she said made sense, but they don't know how to apply it.
To their personal situation.
So we're able to help, you know, better use the products that you have put in place in the group that are so important to them in those one-on-one conversations.
Just to expand on that, I think that what we've seen when your team goes in and explain and sits down with those employees, they get more value out of the plan that we've already put in, because now they're seeing where that plan is enough for their situation, and where there's additional product that might might supplement what's going on the core product.
And that's how we basically sell the voluntary as well. You know, so critical illness, for instance, you know, I'm going to say, okay, you've got a max out of pocket of $10,000 a year. Let's say something happens and there's a heart attack or a stroke or a cancer diagnosis. Maybe that goes into the second year. You know, now you've got a $20,000 exposure. Let's put in a $20,000 critical illness plan that's going to allow you to have that money in automatically. Pathology report comes back for cancer, we write you a check. And you know you've got that money sitting there, so then you can go to the doctor and worry about yourself and not have to worry nearly as much about the money that is going to be required to take care of that. So, finding what fits for a family, maybe you got a young kid who's riding a motorcycle, so the accident plan's the best fit for him. Maybe critical illness isn't a fit for him until he gets a little older. That's our one-on-one time with them to be able to figure that out.
Yeah. There it is, benefit counselors, extension of your team. I jumped ahead.
Oh my God. Look at you go.
Right.
See, you jumped ahead
I
again.
did, right? Personalized support. They're all invested in you. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more
let's
about product.
Product. So the portfolio itself, I think, it's broad, and we'll have links below this video for agents to see sort of the whole portfolio, if you will.
Sure.
But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the actual product options.
So the ones that you guys are probably most used to, I would think, would be the accident and the disability insurance. Those are pretty common across the board plans. Like I mentioned, the critical illness covers the heart attacks, the strokes, the cancers, things like that. But the GAP plan is really one that could integrate really well with the health insurance, and is one that a lot of our brokers present in combination with the health insurance.
Yeah.
So our GAP plan has quite a few different options, which is nice, and you can come to me and say, hey, this is my health plan. What do you think fits? Which is great. But basically it covers hospital confinement, outpatient surgery, and diagnostic testing. And then there are a lot of different levels within that you can offer, bigger outpatient surgery or bigger diagnostic testing. But with health insurance these days and those larger out-of-pocket amounts, GAP plans are becoming very, very commonplace. We're seeing them more and more. I think, we've had a GAP plan I've been with Colonial 20 years. So we've had a GAP plan probably for about 15. I think in the last 5 years is really where we've seen, and even in the last year, even more usage in that. So one, very, very important because it covers hospital confinement for pregnancy. So, if you've got people in their childbearing years, even if it's a male employee, he can buy an employee spouse coverage and then cover the hospital confinement for the family, and then it helps them when they've got a higher deductible plan or are not offered a low deductible plan. So the GAP plan fits in so many places and is such a good pairing with the health insurance that it's a very flowing conversation when you sit down with your employer to say, okay, this is what your health plan covers or doesn't cover, and this is what your GAP plan can bring to the table to kind of boost those benefits a little bit. Yeah. And then we sell a lot of life insurance, and a lot of brokers offer life insurance in their groups, but when we're sitting down and talking to people about it, they really just don't realize how inexpensive it can be. So we can put in a term life or even a whole life. We don't do that like it's an investment product on the whole. We do $10,000 or $20,000 worth of coverage. There's always a guaranteed issue amount. So then they've got a product that goes all the way until they're 100, and they're happy with the fact that they've covered that cost, that end of life cost. So we throw in those products just to help build that package out and say to the employees who typically buy their coverage at work. Most people don't go outside of work to look for insurance. We've got some options for you from that perspective as well.
Yeah, and everything's payroll deducted.
Everything's payroll deducted.
No, like you said, no kitchen table sales. These
Right.
are all going through the employer, set up in an employee benefit setting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all portable. So meaning the employee can keep them after they leave that employer at the same price, which is really nice. And even better, what it means for brokers in general is those commissions continue on. So you're not losing a product when they leave and go to a different employer that you don't insure necessarily. If they choose to keep it, which our team reaches out and asks them to, and then Colonial sends a letter on the back end as well, you're keeping a constant commission stream coming in, where you might normally lose that.
And speaking of keeping the client and being consistently being attached to that policy, that applies throughout, whether that employee leaves or not. Those policies that are issued, the agent stays attached to those policies for the life of those policies.
That's correct.
They're not transferable on an agent of record basis.
That's correct.
So important for consistency and stickiness with your clients, and knowing that once you plug in a Colonial product, as long as that product's paid for, you are attached to that policy.
Yeah. We always maintain the integrity of the initial policy and the initial reps that were involved with that, broker and rep. I've never sold health insurance. I've never really understood that, just changing constantly, because that's never been part of my world. So
that's part of mine. So.
I know. But for us, you're always going to get paid on those policies. Now, if a group was BOR'd or something happened, then the new broker coming in would get commissions on any new sales.
Sure.
But the old policies that are there still are paid to you on the commission side.
I think that's important also to know for brokers that are maybe looking at a case where a prior agent had Colonial in there, but maybe they're not servicing it as well, and they're coming in to take over. They can, and then they can build on whatever was existing. But
they can.
But like you said, the integrity of the original sold policy stays intact. So.
Right. And we can, change up product mix.
Mm-hmm.
So, if somebody went from one product to another, the new broker would get that commission. So, it just goes with the products that were in place previously.
Yeah, and speaking of commissions, the commission schedules vary by product. So those are things that we'll have information on either posted below, or things that we can talk about with brokers individually. Out in the market. We are not set up as a general agent with Colonial at this time. We are a preferred broker partner, which does give us some preferred access on the underwriting side. But definitely a big piece of what we're doing out in the market with our agents. Want to make sure that that it's available to you going into this busy season, knowing that you've got access to an enrollment team to help you plug in those extra products and take care of some of the core enrollments, and then using that employee navigator system would be tremendous.
Yes, that's awesome. But I want to go back to one thing you said, which is the underwriting. So we can typically have guaranteed issue on most products, including disability, even on small group. So there's a lot of different ways. We have specials, if you will, where we can waive, any sort of underwriting. Disability, we can get guaranteed issue down to 3 lives. Especially in today's world, where a lot of people whose health are on medicines and things like that may preclude them, and the group's not large enough to have a group policy in place, we have means to be able to help them get coverage. And so that's been great over the years. To be able to help people from that perspective as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned pre-show the disability program, the group disability product doesn't have any offsets, or it really you get what you purchased.
That's correct. That's correct. So yes, it doesn't coordinate with any benefits at all. So on a voluntary basis, if somebody chose a $1,000 benefit with a 7/7 elimination period, and they had a month's worth of time built up at work, doesn't matter. For us, they're going to start getting payment immediately after that first week if their claim's sent in properly and all together.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'll get that check later. But they get all of that, exactly what they bought, with no look at whatever else is going on in their lives.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good. Love it.
And the disability has the pregnancy leave too. You got 6 weeks for vaginal birth and 8 weeks for C-section. So there's all those different little nuances and things about it.
Good stuff. Anything else that the brokers need to know about before they head out into the crazy season?
Just most importantly, don't ever hesitate to reach out. If you have questions, you don't necessarily understand voluntary, or maybe you want to know a little bit more about any particular product, or you have a group and you want me to look at the medical insurance and make a recommendation of what you should offer, please just reach out and ask me those questions, and I'd be glad to help.
Great. And if we can help you with your Colonial Life quotes, be sure to reach out to our quoting team. They're standing by, ready to help you at a moment's notice. Dawn, thank you so much for coming into the studio. I'm looking forward to next year building upon this presentation so that we can maybe take a deeper dive into some of the products and the strategies that you and I talked about on some specific cases. In the meantime, look for this video online on our website. Down below we'll have links to all the marketing materials that you can use in your presentation when you're talking about Colonial with your prospects and clients. Happy selling in Q4, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching this edition of our Carrier Product Update Series. Visit our website to watch other episodes.